this video, we are going to build a diorama and drive it by car all the way down to Italy. I will build a 1 by 1 meter diorama and show at the Expo of EICMA, now in November in Milan. The concept is very simple. We will create VIDA's dream location. This is a place where kids can ride, play, get inspired, and just grow up around dirt bikes. I have never built a diorama display piece or finished a diorama for viewers. So I don't know how much effort or time it will take to finish this, but guys, I know where it starts. So let's go. What makes this project different from all my others is pretty much everything. Before I can start building, I need to finish the whole frame. The diorama will be built inside and later on covered in glass. The material I have chosen for the framework is elm wood, a really beautiful material. I've laser engraved parts of VIDA's logo into the sides, and I decided to add wooden letters as well, just to make it a little more special. I add the letters using a logo template and clean up the glue that seeps out behind them with a small paintbrush. I glue all the corners and measure everything so the angles are exactly 45 degrees. On the inside, I add a corner plate for support and secure it with screws. There's also an inner ledge. That's where the plywood base will sit and where the whole landscape will be built on. And it fits just perfectly. The frame is done, and that means we can finally start building VIDA's dream location. I measure the silhouette of the mountain base and calculate the maximum height. The glass display that will cover this piece isn't unlimited in size, so everything has to fit. Once the numbers are sorted, I use a hot knife to cut the shapes out roughly. There's no precision at this stage at all. The scale for this build is 1:150, so that means every detail will end up really tiny. The whole idea is to separate two areas, one for kids, where they can find their own sweet spot of riding, playing and getting inspired, and another area where they can watch their parents ride too, in a more adventure-focused way. No racing, no pressure, just for fun. This stage is very forgiving. I have the freedom to shape it however I want, change things as I go, and not worry about perfection. It's just fun to build and follow the picture I have in my head. I want this mountain to have some variation. Small areas that stand out visually. The goal is to make people look at it and stop, and maybe discover something new each time they do. Another part of this project was printing VIDA's bikes. I've spent just as many hours figuring out how to make them look right as I have on the landscape itself. After several attempts, different files and different sizes, they finally came out perfect. Big thanks to the team behind the bike designs. Their help made this part so much easier. The base of the landscape is finally starting to take shape, and I'm beginning to map out the riding paths in my head. I add cliffs and small features that actually make sense for the terrain. On this side, there will be a pump track with some off-road paths with natural sections. I'll add a playground and a few houses. This is where they live in this little world. Now it's time to add another level of detail. I mold a few cliff faces to make the terrain look more natural. They're made with hobby plaster, which is really nice to work with. This is also when I add the first layer of filler to build up the ground. And I use the same filler to glue the cliff pieces in place so everything bonds together. To create a good rocky off-road surface, I always go back to the basics. A wet sponge and just dabbing it around until the texture feels right. It blends everything together really nicely, even with the rock faces. You can barely see where one ends and the other begins. At the same time, I add the pump track into the filler mix, basically using it as glue. I place the track where I want it, and then cover the sides so it blends in naturally, and I will have the opportunity later to go more into the details. It's time for some paint. This part of the build is never boring. It's the first moment where the base actually starts to look like something with potential. I shrink for a moment, in a good way, because now I'm really inside this world. Painting out the paths, where they should ride and where they should walk, is pretty cool. This is where I map everything out and try to create something fun, inspiring, and a little adventurous. My vision is to make this a place I want to be in when this is finished. Drying time becomes my best friend from here on. Now I start adding more and more nature to the scene, using regular wood glue to hold it all in place. I usually do 2 layers at once. A dirt-colored turf first, and then green turf on top, so it naturally settles into the uncovered spots. That gives the texture a really nice variation. You can see the green turf goes on really rough at first, then I press it down with my fingers so it gets traction with the glue. Whatever sticks will stay, and everything else will be brushed off in the next stage. I work section by section. Nothing is really planned, I just go with the flow. This part of the build is also very forgiving. All the loose turf gets vacuumed up, and underneath you can see a really nice first layer of the nature. The variation comes out great this way. I also start adding another layer, small grass patches with new colors and more textures. I felt something was missing, so I printed a smaller pump track for the younger kids. To blend it in, I used the same process as before. It's nice with some color. I add another grass layer, a bit taller and a different color, just to make the nature look a little wilder in some areas. For a moment, I move over to the other side of the build. I waited to start here because I wanted to be sure I was satisfied with the first area. There's an old abandoned factory building that will sit in the middle, so I clear away the extra material and add new filler to shape the ground. It needs some drying time, and doing this now lets me keep working while everything sets. While the filler sets, I move back to the track and add some weathering. It should look used, so I brush on some dirt along the asphalt and add worn-in lines to make it blend in more realistically. Another creative part is the playground area. I draw the area where I want it and adding some nice shapes to it. I add the sand very roughly at first, then smooth it out with a sponge to get some small textures. The playground pieces go in while the paint is still wet, so they lock in naturally, and I'll glue them again later. The last step here is adding small footsteps in the sand and cover up the edges by putting the frame around the sandbox itself. It's finally time to start laying out the adventure side. I sketch a few lines for where the paths should go, and I just do what I think could be an inspiring ride. Later, when the nature is added around it, all the path will look smaller. In this stage, to be honest, everything looks like it's miscalculated. I add some small details, stones, darker dirt along the paths, and a few leaves on the roof. I'm not very structured when I work. I jump around, doing a little here and a little there, but that's just how I figure things out. I test an idea, see how it looks, and then move on to the next area. I'm not a fan of repeating the same process, but that's what this phase is. The same texturing as the other side, turf, grass, and another layer on top until I have the basic environment in place. The trees are what will make this side pop. I'm continuing the orange theme here, just like the pump track on the other side. I've printed the tree bases and I'm making the crowns with pillow padding. I honestly don't know how many trees I've made at this point, but it's a lot. I try to keep a big variation between them so none of them look the same. Small details mean I'm getting close to the final stage of the build. I place out tiny bikes and much other small detail, and they're just about the size of my fingernail. These are just about the details that people is going to stand and look for and complete the story for the entire piece. It's always the details that make the difference. More trees are the final step to finish the adventure area, and there are a lot of them. I printed pine trees in different sizes and models, and I think they turned out really nice. I also add some personal detail. One Indian and one Swedish flag doing its thing. One for the client and one for the creator. And with all these final details in place, the build is officially complete. It's been a long process, but everything has come together exactly the way I hope. So now it's time to wrap this up and show you the final piece. Moments like this remind me how lucky I am to do what I do. It's something I don't take for granted. The road to Milano was just as much part of the story. Long drives, ferries, landscapes changing from Sweden through Germany into Switzerland. Arriving to the expo and seeing the scale of it all, the people, the energy, the passion, it's something special. Being able to present this piece in person, to meet all the people behind VIDA and DIRTE, and show the art piece to the chairman himself, that meant more than I can explain. And being able to bring a friend with me on this journey, sharing the experience, the nerves, the excitement, that's something I'll always remember. This project started as an idea, curiosity, a challenge, and it ended as a shared experience between people, brands, cultures, and a love for writing. Built for VIDA, shown at EICMA, and something I'm incredibly proud of. If you like this video, don't forget to like and subscribe. That's the easiest way to support my work. Thank you for watching and see you in the next one.